And we are live. All right, sports update. Right back at him like we never left. Fellas, was good?
Good.
Long time no
So
talk.
I know, right? No show last week, but we're
Sir.
right back at it though. Right back at it. Right back consistent coming every week with these things. So the NBA MVP was announced. It was Nikola Jokic. This is one of the more tighter races I can remember within the past years. Jokic, 26 points, 12 assists, 9 rebounds. So Adrian was Jokic deserving of this award, or could it have gone another way?
I think he was deserving of it. I mean, third MVP put some elite company. I know people say SGA should have won, but did he get robbed? No. Could he have won? Yes. I'm gonna say it was well deserving for what Jokic was able to do this season. I know Denver's down 2 right now. I think that's more so of people looking at Denver right now and struggling against Minnesota and what SGA has been able to do with the second youngest team in the NBA. So if you wanna argue and say that he actually SGA deserves it more, cool. But if you want to say Jokic doesn't deserve it, I can highly disagree with anybody who wants to contend that. So I'm gonna say Jokic definitely deserves MVP once again.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he definitely deserved it. I think he deserved it when Embiid won it. He is the most valuable player in the league, even at this point. So, I mean, obviously, I think there was an argument to be made. I know a lot of people say Shea because he led his team to the number 1 overall seed. He had a great team around him. So I think if you take him out of that team, I still think they make it into the playoffs. But if you take a guy like Luka or Joker off of their teams, respectively, I don't think they make it. Maybe a play-in game, but I don't think they make it to as far as they have. I mean, Luka did something that you haven't seen in a very long time, averaging 30, almost 34, 9, and 10. So that was basically what Embiid did. He was 34, 12, and 4 or something like that. So that's a crazy stat line that you haven't seen in a very long time with the points, the assists, and the rebounds from a quote-unquote point guard. So, yeah, I mean, Joker definitely deserves it. He's a phenomenal player. Hopefully he doesn't get swept by the Timberwolves because that would be a bad look. But, yeah, I definitely think Joker deserves it. Whether you want to say there's an argument for the other guy, sure, but I just don't even think it should be a close debate.
And real quick, go ahead, Raj. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I got no problem with him winning it. Me personally, I thought Shea should have won it just due to the fact that they finished first in the West. They finished with a better record than Denver. But I mean, you could have gave it to Yoke last year. You could give it to Yoke any year. I honestly, me personally, I would like to have seen Shea won it. I feel as though he was more deserving, but I'm not mad that Yoke got it. He was deserving as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, man. It's tough. We don't know what the criteria is on the MVP award is. We talk about this every year. We don't know who's voting, what they're voting for. It seems to change the narrative, and the needle seems to move on it every year. So it's going to be a controversial debate every year unless it's just a clear cut winner. But this year it could have definitely been SGA without a doubt. But Jokic has actually upped his points and his rebound and his field goal percentage in these playoffs, even though most people wouldn't notice because he struggled in these first 2 games against Minnesota.
Yeah. So keeping it right there, Adrian, what could Denver do to get back into this Minnesota series? They're down 2-0 right now. What do they need to do to turn this thing around?
Number 1, get mentally tough. Stop crying about the whistle. The refs, you gotta play how the refs are calling it. You gotta adjust and make some changes. Denver's just as big too. They got Michael Porter Jr., you got Jokic. You gotta play strong. And all this whining and crying is taking them out their game and taking them out their focus. As we can see, Jamal Murray throws a heating pad on the court during the game 2, because he's so frustrated. But I think number 1, that's the main thing you gotta do. You gotta just keep playing hard. If you're a champion, you gotta fight through it. I know Minnesota's been the better team right now. They're clicking on all cylinders. And what makes it even worse is the fact that they did this in game 2 without Rudy Gobert, who just won his 4th Defensive Player of the Year award. So if you're Denver, you better find some mental toughness and show me what you got. Because this is the first time in a long time that I've seen a team make Jokic's athleticism be a major factor in him playing. He plays slow, but he looks slow in these first 2 games of the series. But Denver's gotta tighten up.
Yeah, I think that they just can't keep up their offense to what Minnesota is doing defensively. They're crowding guys. You saw the one clip that was going viral of Jamal Murray just getting absolutely smothered on that double team. So I feel like Denver has never been, fighting against the ropes like they're doing now. They kind of have their back against the wall. And yeah, like Adrian said, I mean, it's going to have to be Joker doing his MVP thing. He's going to have to come out and play better offensively than he has in probably most of this postseason, because you are playing a team with a Cat and a Rudy Gobert who, Cat can still shoot a three as a big guy. Rudy Gobert, like you said, defensive player of the year. Ant's obviously amazing. So, yeah, you got a real big team to go up against, but you have Michael Porter Jr. who can shoot. He's a bigger guy. Aaron Gordon's a big guy. So, yeah, I mean, I think they just need to start playing offensively. And like Adrian said, stop worrying about the whistle. Stop worrying about the refs. I get that you're the champions, and you probably expect a little bit more, leeway with foul calls and everything. But yeah, if you're not getting that, suck it up and play your way through the game. I mean, look what Indiana's going through with the Knicks. It's basically the same thing. I think they said 78 clips of potential fouls in that game that were missed. So I know it stinks, and you're playing against a team like New York and the Garden and the Mecca. So, like, yeah, it's just certain teams are going to get certain preferential treatment from the refs, and it just so happens that the Timberwolves and the Knicks have the hot hand right now. So put your head down and start swinging. Stop being scared to play and actually show them why you are a champion.
Yeah, Minnesota's playing with house money right now. Like Denver's, they're defending champs. Everybody's expecting them to go back. Minnesota really has nothing to lose in this series. And as far as matchups, they match up with them very well. They got a starting five that's just as big and long as Denver is. Normally, Denver is bigger than everybody, but that isn't the case with Minnesota. So I think that's part of the reason why. So yeah, game 3 is a must win for them for sure. I'm surprised they lost 2 games at home. I feel as though Denver has the biggest home court advantage of any team in the NBA playing at that altitude. So you to lose both games at home, like that's crazy. So yeah, game 3 is a must win for them for sure. So Adrian, tonight we got the Mavs and the Thunder. What can the Mavs do in game 2 to get back in this series? Because it seemed like the Thunder were all over them in that game 1.
Stop turning the ball over. Luka and Kyrie combined for 7 turnovers in that game. Turn the ball over, be more sound. I think defensively, their team has what they can to be able to win the series. I think it's got to be a little more perfection in this game. OKC was coming well rested. Coming into that game 1, fired up. Second round, but I do think Dallas is able to find a way to win this game tonight. And Luka cannot be 6 for 19 from the field with only 19 points. So he's got to play a little better. Kyrie played good, but just get a little better play from Luka, and I think they'll be fine. Everything's going to come down to his jump shot ability in this series. So if he's a little more efficient, then they'll be good to go. But if not, then they're in bad shape right now. I like this Thunder team. I just think they're, like you talked about with Minnesota, they're playing with house money. All the pressure is more so on Dallas right now, especially with Luka and Kyrie. Especially after finishing the regular season 16-4 and then knocking out the Clippers. So I just think OKC's playing pressure-free, and they're young, so they're really going through this for the first time and know nothing. So if they lose, they lose. But I think that Dallas will go in there and humble them tonight.
Yeah, I agree. The turnovers were a huge problem for him. Another big thing, too, Luka's shooting. He's not looking good. I think they say he's shooting 28% from 3 right now in the playoffs. So, he's a guy that's known to go out there and bang a few threes. So he needs to fix that up. Other than that, I think the rest of the team's meshing pretty well. They were coming into this as one of the top defensive teams down the stretch. So you can't allow. I know it's tough because you got guys like SGA who gets, as we talk about whistles. As much as I love the guy, he still gets whistles to benefit him. You have a guy who's long like Chet who can spread the floor and get good spacing. He can shoot. So it is one problem for them that they have so many versatile guys that Dallas may not match up well against, but Kyrie and Luka have to come in with that veteran mentality. And again, Luka needs to shoot way, way better than what he's been doing, because you can't be winning a series if you're taking that many shots and you're only shooting 28%. Like that's horrible.
He's shooting 22% right now in the playoffs right now.
Something low.
Yeah, 1 for 8. Game 1. So it's 4 free throws, not good numbers. 5 turnovers. So they gotta clean it up.
Yeah.
I like so much.
Yeah, Luka has to play better for sure. I mean, I get it. I know he's hurt. It's towards the end of the season, a lot of guys are hurt right now. But if they have any chance of winning this series, he has to play better for sure.
It's the same thing we talked about. Look, I get it. Like Kawhi, he was hurt, so he was injured. He couldn't play. I get it. Oh, well, I'll answer that question while we just saw the screen. But like guys, like if we don't have to get into it, but I just don't understand it. We watch NFL every year, right? There's guys in the NFL that are not as hurt as much as some of these NBA players. The technology's better. The treatment's better.
Julius Randle not playing for the Knicks.
Every year we're missing stars from Embiid's playing hurt. Jimmy Butler's hurt. Kawhi's hurt.
Julius
now,
Randle.
They're saying Luka's hurt. Listen, my thing is, if you're out there, I don't want to hear no excuses. You put yourself in that position, so play through it. And if not, don't lose and complain about how injured you were, and that's the reason you lost. Because if you win, then you're gonna say, "Oh, he's a warrior. He battled through it." And if you're at that point where you're on the court and you feel like you're gonna hurt your team, get off the court, man. As much as we might criticize you for it, but don't go out there and be a detriment to your team. So that's all I'm saying.
Agreed 100%. So David Barksdale said Brunson should have won MVP. Brunson, let me see. I'm gonna put Jokic, Shea, Luka, and Tatum. I'll put
Edwards.
Giannis.
Edwards over
I wouldn't put Ant over him, but I would put Giannis over him. Ant would be close with Brunson. I don't know if I'd necessarily put him over him, just because again, MVP is about a stat. It's a stat award, so Brunson had better stats than Ant did, but I mean it's definitely close. I mean you could make an argument for it for sure. He plays in the harder division, I couldn't give Brunson an MVP over some of the other guys that are in front of him.
I would put Brunson over Ant because Julius Randle, you could argue their second best player was out for the majority of the season, and he still got him to the second seed in the East. So I probably would put Brunson over the
Embiid want to be in the third team in the East.
Yeah.
Last year.
DC said, should Kawhi retire?
No, he shouldn't retire, but I think the Clippers need to blow it up though.
They need to just find a workaround in this this mandatory gameplay so he can rest towards the end of the season so he's not hurt all playoffs. He's played in
guys out of the last 19 playoff games, Kawhi Leonard has played in 4. That is 21%. I did the math yesterday because I was talking to one of my good friends about it. But think about that. You're making $50 million almost, and they just gave him a contract extension. But Paul George is the one who's been there, most consistent one, and he can't seem to get a contract right now. So just think about that. They're moving into a new arena. I know there's no way they're gonna let it happen, but this is not working. It's not working.
As much as I love Kawhi, it sucks.
Yeah, that's why I'm surprised Kawhi is even joining the Olympic team this year. It's like you think that he need time to heal up with all the games he missed this season. I'm surprised he's gonna take this offseason.
He didn't miss that many games this season, though. He played like almost the whole season. I think he played 68 games, so he played almost the whole season. 68 to 70. I know he played he had a stretch on the end.
68 games.
68, yeah. 68. So I know he played most of it.
Yeah, okay. He played a good chunk of the season, but when they needed him most,
it
wasn't there.
Exactly. So, but again, I'm a big Kawhi guy, so I mean, at some point it does have to, the kettle gets a little too hot, and you might have to make a decision whether to dump the water or cook with it. And I guess they're going to stay around and cook with it because.
Well, think about this. They still have. James Harden's about to be free agent. Paul George is reportedly about to test free agency because they reportedly offered him a contract that wasn't what he was looking for. James Harden, after their loss, I watched a little bit of the interview, but I'm not going to paraphrase it. But he was pretty much not taking accountability for them losing. He didn't step up when they need to. He had one good game in that series.
Surprise.
From his mouth, and then when it comes down to when they really need him, guess where he's at? Not showing up when they need him to show up, and he's going to command a ton of money. There's
another guy around the league that kind of does that same thing, who used to be a previous teammate of James Harden's, kind of does that same thing. He just got a first-round exit too, and his head coach got fired.
Talk about one other than Kevin Durant.
Those two guys, man, they're great players. I won't take it away from them, but the amount of times where you go into a situation and you don't take accountability for losses and it's just somebody else's fault, it never sat right with me. I haven't liked Kevin Durant, though, since he left OKC. So
there's a long line list of people like you, Reid, who feel the same way.
I know that for sure.
It said, yes, Kawhi should retire. He's accomplished a whole lot. Ish also says the Detroit Pistons should get the very first pick in the NBA draft.
We've said that the past 3 years, and they've gotten 5th twice and 7th. So they got 1, obviously, with Cade, but actually with the Killian draft, they were probably warranted to get 7. They had a little bit better record. That was with Blake Griffin's last year, but yeah, they were supposed to have 1 with Wemby, and they were supposed to have a top 3 with Chet, Jabari, and Paolo, and they got 5. So it's never guaranteed, obviously, in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, just get rid of the whole lottery system. Just make it worse to first, or first to worst. I mean,
but everybody's adopting a lottery system now. MLB just did it. NHL just did it. They all have lottery systems now.
NFL's not doing it. NFL's not doing it.
They would never do that. It works too well for their. Because NFL is the most watched too, and the draft is I guarantee the draft was more watched than half the NBA playoff games have been.
Real quick, guys, too, the draft lottery is this Sunday, so at 3 p.m. on ABC. So, yeah, I'll definitely try to catch it if I'm not out dinner with my mom, but definitely have to see where it goes.
Yeah, let's see where those Pistons land. I'm thinking they're gonna get a top 3 pick this year. For sure. All right,
Bad draft, of course.
Yeah, of course. All right, so we seen Darvin Ham fired after 2 years after Ben, the Lakers coach, got him to Western Conference Finals, got him to the playoffs again this year. So Reid, did Darvin Ham deserve to be fired, and who should be the next Lakers head coach?
Did he deserve to be? Probably not. I mean, he took him far, but the Frank Vogel thing goes, and plenty of coaches go in this industry for the NBA. A lot of guys, unless you're a Spo who took them to the finals, who's won multiple championships, a Pop who's been around forever. Unless you're guys, it's really cemented. If you don't come up and really make it, it's also the Lakers too. And I know Adrian's going to have a lot to say about this. It's also the Lakers fan base. They just can't keep someone around and be happy if they don't make it to a championship. So that is part of that's the opposite side of the sword. But do I think he should have been fired? No. Who will the next head coach be? I don't know. They said JJ Barea, but I don't think he's going to be in consideration for a head coaching job just yet for a Lakers team. I don't think they would want him, or the fans at least wouldn't want him or accept him. So I don't know. Maybe some candidate that's an assistant in OKC or an assistant in one of the other organizations that are pretty high up, but. I would have to do some digging. I don't know who would be available, really. I've just seen the JJ rumors. That's it. They had Frank Vogel, right? Didn't he win in the bubble?
Yeah, he did during the bubble. Another one. My thing is, Bron's been in LA, 6 years? Yeah. 6 years, something like that.
6 already?
They continuously run
5 or 6.
Yeah.
Been up there.
It's the LeBron James. It's the LeBron James effect, man. At one point in time, I know Darvin Ham made a few coaching errors and a few mistakes, but let's get this straight. He got this team last year to the Western Conference Finals when nobody saw it coming. A great job by him. This year, Denver was the only team possibly that I don't believe the Lakers could beat. Any other team I think the Lakers would beat in the second round right now as we speak. Denver just has their numbers. There's something about them to where they can't get by them. And you can't blame Darvin Ham for the play of Rui Hachimura, the upside down play of D'Angelo Russell. Austin Reeves is just a guy just there. You have no depth at the big man spot. So all these factors are just playing into where the coach, once again, like we talked about it, guys, becomes the scapegoat. And Darvin Ham is just another example of becoming a scapegoat and just people want him out. None of the players get to take accountability for. How about LeBron and Anthony Davis being the 2 highest players? I know they play good, but ultimately another coaches get fired. Hire another coach. What's going to change? The roster is not good enough to win an NBA championship. That's just the bottom line. He's only been there 2 seasons. So firing him, hey, Do I agree with it? No. But am I surprised? Not at all. The Los Angeles Lakers are like the Dallas Cowboys, but they actually win. So, that being said, all these big time franchises, just, like Reid talked about, just pressure after pressure after pressure. And we knew Darvingham. He knew after that. He knew he was done. So
Yeah, this was LeBron's 6th season with the Lakers. He joined in 18-19. So this is his 6th season. Another team, I don't know if we're going to talk about it, but like Adrian just said, if you can be successful and still get fired, again, Frank Vogel, but I just think the Suns roster is not good enough to win a championship in the NBA. Like, that's going to be a team where, yeah, it looks good. I mean, the team looks sexy on paper, but, you know, when you get down to the brass tacks, she's just a girl that hangs around because you give her a lot of money. Like, it's not anything that's going to go anywhere because they just are not a good team. I mean, they look good on the outside. They have zero depth outside of Kevin Durant, Booker, and Beal. That's the only scoring you really have. If you look at a box score after a Phoenix Suns game, 9 times out of 10, it's Durant, Booker, and Beal with 75 to 80% of the points, and they've scored like 101 points. So, like, they're just never going to win anything, and that's the way that the Lakers are. I don't think LeBron's going to be back as a Laker as long as his son gets drafted. I definitely think that he's going to leave. So he might not even go. He might not even stay again this year. He might just forego his contract now if they don't hire somebody that he wants. I could see that happening. And I'm a LeBron guy, but I just think that he's nearing that part of his career where it's like, okay, you're still pretty dynamic, but like, you can only go so far unless you have a lot of guys around you to help now at this point.
Yeah, I don't see him leaving LA. I'd be surprised if he left us this year.
Nah, you know what LeBron's doing right now. Even after the press game conference where he said, "I don't know what my future holds." He knows what he's doing, man. He's gonna re-sign. He actually loves LA because he's gonna be there after basketball. Right. So it's all a strategic move. But what can the Lakers realistically, honestly do to make this roster better? I know they finally got a first round pick they can trade away, but in what sense am I helping the Lakers to just give me a first round pick to trade a superstar away? I believe the only 2 guys they could possibly get would be a Donovan Mitchell or possibly a Trae Young. But I don't know if you guys, people don't pay attention to things like this, but Trae Young recently just switched his management team he just dropped Clutch and signed with CAA. You know, as we all know, Clutch is LeBron's agency with Rich Paul and company. So does that point to signs that Trae Young is saying, I'm good, or what happens now? With the Cavs right now, we got to see what happens in the playoffs. I know they'll probably lose to Boston or how they lose. But I potentially see if Donovan Mitchell leaves, I see him possibly a better fit with the Miami Heat than the Los Angeles Lakers. Because I don't believe there's enough shots to go around for him, LeBron, and AD.
I definitely think Trae Young, yeah, I don't know if that means that he's going to say, no, I'm good or whatever, he didn't switch an agency, but I agree with you. I definitely think Trae Young is better off if it was up to those 2 going. I definitely think Trae Young would be the better situation because he was basically averaging a double-double with assists this year. He can really facilitate the ball. So he's better than Donovan Mitchell at that. I still love Donovan Mitchell as a player. I think he's great. But, yeah, I think a team like Miami would suit him. Milwaukee would suit him. I know they still have Dame, but like a team like Milwaukee would probably suit him a little bit better. If Minnesota can somehow figure out how to get him, that would be crazy. That would be a scary team. But I don't know if they would ever be able to get him.
Right, for sure. Yeah, that Lakers coaching job, man, it's a hard job to take because the expectations are too high. After every season, you're looking over your shoulder, wondering if you're going to get fired or not. It's a tough job, man.
It's setting you up to literally fail. LeBron James is about to be 40 years old. Anthony Davis he's street code Davis, always hurt. What happens in game 5? He gets a shoulder stinger and scores 1 point after that. So I mean, how can you blame the coach? What more do you want him to get? They paid Austin Reeves like he was an elite 2 guard, which he's not. He's a really good, solid NBA player. Rui Hachimura just decides to show up. And D'Lo, don't even get me started on D'Angelo Russell. And I know Jared Vanderbilt was hurt, but this roster has no shooting and no playmaking besides LeBron James, and Laker fans are just really unrealistic. So if it was me, don't get me wrong, LA is a beautiful place. I've been there, but I think it's a little overrated. And if I'm a coach, I can find other places to go where where I can be a little more comfortable. You know what I mean? So just think whoever takes that job better knows what he's dealing with, because the first signs of trouble, you're out the door.
This is the last thing I'll say on this, and then we can move through it, Raj. But if you're a Laker, if you take this Lakers head coaching job outside of maybe JJ, like I don't think there's a lot of guys that take this job. Who was the coach that was for Milwaukee before they brought in Doc Rivers?
Budenholzer. Or no, I'm sorry, Adrian Griffin. Sorry.
Yeah, Adrian Griffin. So you could potentially see a situation, even though Adrian Griffin was playing well, they were 30-13, I think, when he got fired. But if you're a first-time head coach who doesn't have previous experience and you get hired for that job as like an assistant, I potentially could see, and you don't make a playoff or like a play-in game your first year, I potentially could see you like getting fired. Like that's how like dangerous the situation could be. And I'm saying that as if they're like a young coach, like a young assistant coach or something like that, like when Luke Wilson was there. Isn't that the guy's name? Or Luke Walton. I'm sorry, Luke Walton. Luke Wilson's the actor. Yeah, like when Luke Walton was there, a guy like that gets hired, he might be out after the first year if they don't win one with LeBron.
I guarantee that they do hire an experienced coach, because that's not a franchise who's going to go hire rookie coach. Darvin Ham was the exception, because they hired Mike Brown, Mike D'Antoni, all experienced coaches. I don't see them going with the younger guy again. They're going to go try to get an established guy.
Oh yeah, there was one more thing. D'Angelo Russell, I agree with Adrian. I can't stand him. He's the type of like person. He's the kid in your group that does like the homework assignment, and then he has like one good thing attached to it. He has one good game where he scores like 26 points, and then he demands that he gets the A+ because he thinks he's that good when he's really not. That's what the type of player D'Angelo Russell is to me. He's the kid that begs for the good grade when he does one good thing.
So, Reid, what guard would you rather have, Jaden Ivey or D'Angelo Russell?
I'd rather have Jaden Ivey because Jaden Ivey at least seems like a sensible young man. D'Angelo Russell just thinks he's the man when he's actually not. Like Jaden Ivey's not out here pretending like he's Donovan Mitchell or Trae Young or any of those like young point guards yet. I mean, he might act like that eventually, but right now he's not. D'Angelo Russell's been in the league for how many years, and he acts like he's a guy that's won 3 championships and deserves to be paid millions and millions of dollars when he scores. He shoots 4 for 5 one time and scores 26 points and thinks he's like God. Like I just can't stand his attitude.
I can't have snitches in my locker room, man. That's all I'm saying. You guys know what I'm referring to. So
yeah.
David says,
"Oh no, we lost
Raj. Should hire Tayshaun Princess."
No, you're back. We got you, Raj. You're back.
Y'all see that?
Yep.
Yeah,
Tayshaun Prince.
Lakers should hire Tayshaun Prince as coach.
Tayshaun's more of a Tayshaun's more of a like a he'd be more of a front office guy.
I've seen him in. Is he even like had been a name for coaching anywhere?
No, I've seen him for like for positions in like the front office. No, I haven't seen him for anything for like coaching. That doesn't know what Tayshaun's a coach. He doesn't have the personality.
He's not the coaching personality. He's too quiet. I will tell you though. Did you see Mr. Big Shot? They're talking about maybe Portland and him are splitting ways. I would.
Yeah.
If they get rid of Monty, which I agree with Raj, we talked about it. I'd keep Monty one more year, see how it goes. But I wouldn't be opposed to having him back in Detroit. To be honest,
I would too. I wouldn't mind too, but I don't want to ruin his. I don't want him to get his name ruined in the mud with the way they've set this franchise up. So
yeah, that's true. Maybe hire him as the president of basketball ops or whatever they were talking
possibly.
about.
I mean, Portland has a. I think Portland's the only reason you could say Portland's in a worse position than the Pistons is because they're playing in the Western Conference, but their roster is better than the Pistons.
Yeah. Well, they also took the guy I thought the Pistons should have taken Ivy over, but
yeah.
Bashir says Shea should have won MVP. I agree. That's what I thought should have won it as well.
Either way, no matter one of those three that won MVP, none of them would have been an American-born winner. So there was three foreign-borns that would have won it, which is crazy to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Like Ant's the next guy that potentially is going to like break that trend, but for the foreseeable future, those three are going to be up there.
Sure. All right, Access. I was thinking the same thing, Adrian. I don't monkey with Russell for telling on his teammate. I don't like him to this day.
for anybody who's not familiar, guys, real quick, when D'Angelo Russell is a rookie or a second year, him and Nick Young were teammates.
Second year
When they was in LA. And he recorded a conversation, him and Nick Young talking about girls, and he admitted that he cheated on Iggy Azalea at the time, as we all know who she probably is, and then it got leaked, and then ever since then he just can't have the locker room's a sacred place, as we know, fellas. So he broke the code.
Yes, sir. The last one here, BA says, I would love to have Big Shot as a coach, but he has no talent to work with.
Agree to disagree. I'll leave it at that.
I mean, they're going to have another lottery pick this year, so and some money in free agency. So.
Yeah, I got to see what they're going to. I got to see who they pick up in free agency before I would say there's no talent on the team. Now it is Troy. Yeah, but I got to see what happens in free agency, and then I'll make my judgment. Again, I'm with you, Raj. I think you have a lot of money invested in Monty. You might as well keep him one more year, because there's no telling if Chauncey's going to even be fired after this year or during the season.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the NFL. The last one in here. You said trade Cade and get some pieces. BA, no way you could trade Cade. He's our best player. He's the only light we have at the end of the tunnel. You can't do it.
Let me address this for a second, for just 2 minutes.
Yes.
The floor is yours.
Why do people in all the comments for online, anywhere you see this, why do all these Pistons fans say trade Cade? That is, you had one step forward and you're taking 4 steps back. He's like one of the only players on this roster worth a damn. You can arguably say him and Jalen Durden are the only 2 people on this roster worth a damn. I say Asar, give him time, he's going to be well. But if you say no, that's fine. Cade is the only thing good on this team that you have. Say trading him away for pieces is dumb because you don't know what you're going to get with those pieces. You know what you have with Cade. Through 200 games, him and Anthony Edwards have almost the exact same stats. So there is a guy who has very good potential. He just has not a lot of talent around him. The talent around him is a product of a terrible GM and a terrible spot the team was put in, as I've referenced before, with the 2 draft picks that were supposed to be top 3, potentially number 1, that could have been Wembanyama, dropping down to 5. You got screwed in that situation. You dropped to 7 and potentially could have been 5 to 6 to 7 in the Killian draft. You could have drafted Halliburton back then. Like, there's so many factors, but saying that you should trade Cade for draft picks, not knowing what the picks are going to be, or you're going to trade him for another guy who might not even be as good as Cade, you just don't know. Why not take the $100 million they have in cap space coming up this next season with all these guys that are going to be free agents and try and go and get free agents? Or if you want, trade your next future draft picks for other guys, or Ivy, a guy who doesn't really fit with this team at this moment. Like, saying you should trade Cade is the dumbest thing I've heard anybody say out of any fan base ever. That was like when people had Anthony Edwards for the first 2 years of his career. They were being like, hey, let's just trade away Anthony Edwards because that's what Cade has basically done. He's only had 2 years here because he was injured for a full season. To say that is just an asinine statement. Sorry, I had to get that off my chest.
Well, he said he stays injured and the only one you can get some pieces for.
He was injured for 1 season. Other than that, they shut him down earlier this last season because they knew they weren't going to win anything after they had only won 14 games with 10 left. Like, he doesn't stay injured. So people keep saying that. He was injured for 1 season when he hurt his knee. Other than that, he played like 68 games or 70 games this season.
Yeah, they shut him down early this season. The season was a wash. They didn't want to.
Yeah, what are you going to do? He Cade's in, you win 2-3 more games, maybe. Like, cool. What does that do for you? It doesn't do anything but hurt your draft chances. Like, it's so dumb for people to just say trade away the only guy that's worth something on your team.
Absolutely, for sure. All right, let's move over to the NFL. So we've seen the Lions. The Lions drafted 4 defensive players, 2 offensive players. Reid. So what'd you think about the Lions draft?
Yeah, I mean, I was down working at the draft at the time at the Buffalo Wild Wings down there, and it was an electric atmosphere. You could hear the eruptions outside every time the Lions pick happened all 3 days. So, I mean, the fact that if you saw – this is why mock drafts, people don't ever trust or listen to what mock drafts say, because no mock draft had 13 or 14 offensive players going in the first 14 picks. That being said, the Lions got a guy that was one of their highest graded guys in Terrion Arnold at cornerback, all the way down to 24. He almost made it to them at 28, but they weren't taking any chances. He was a guy that was supposed to go like 12 to 17. On top of that, they got a guy like Ennis Rakestraw, who could have been potentially a first-round pick. I know a lot of people – I think you were pretty high on him, Adrian, or a little bit.
Yeah, my guy, yeah.
So you have two guys that were potential first-round – it was like Terrion Arnold, Quinyon Mitchell, Nate Wiggins – and then Ennis Rakestraw was in there, and one other guy was in the top 5 for cornerbacks. Yeah, Kool-Aid was in there. Cooper DeJean was in there. I'm happy they didn't take Cooper DeJean. I know people were really high on him. I don't think he's going to be a good cover corner. I think he's a fine special teams player and potentially here and there for a snap, maybe like a slot guy. But I think Terrion Arnold's great. Even after I fell in love even more when I saw his press conference. He's a dude that just knows how to talk. He knows what to say. And then Rakestraw is just a quiet guy that's, there for business. So I loved the picks. I thought it was great. I'll let Adrian talk on it more and we can get deeper into the other part of the draft. But yeah, I thought they were phenomenal. I thought it was those two picks, you addressed exactly what you needed. I would have liked an edge rusher, but all the edge rushers that I liked were gone by the time they picked Rakestraw. So don't trade up any more assets to get the edge rusher. Take the guy that you liked for another corner, lock down 2 cornerbacks for the next 4 years at least, because you have them for those contracts.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say nothing more. Love the Terrion Arnold pick. Trade up a few spots and grab him. That's a guy you're convicted on. You take him, and you go double down, and you grab Rakestraw. Like they say, if you have a weakness, don't go once, but double down on it to make a weakness or strength, and that's what they did. And I can't really complain. I'm not going to say nothing about the offensive line that they drafted, the guy from the British Columbia, because I don't really know too much about him, but that's a project, the Maki kid, they got him listed as a running back when they drafted him, so I'm not sure what they're going to do. But he's going to be a project. But as far as his secondary, I think this can ultimately turn into an elite secondary this season for the Lions. Like Reid said, my only issue is Brad has earned the ability and the right to kind of take a flyer on guys. I like that guard they took out of Boston College, the Mahogany guy, I believe his name is. But with that said, he can take some fire on guys and take some chances. I really love to see them, and this is me nitpicking, but try to go get an edge guy via outside the other side of Aiden, but they didn't do it. So I guess they're convicted enough inside that interior with Reeder and McNeil and Liam McNeil. So we'll see. But overall, I give the Lions a great draft. They did a great job in that. Like I said, the secondary, man, it's gonna be good, man. You got Terrion Arnold, I believe, will be starting on the other side of Carlton Davis with Amik Robertson at the nickel, which is the exact reason why they signed him, is what he's going to be very good at for the Lions. You got the good safety duo. You got Kirby Joseph out there. I just think they'll be able to make some plays, make some pieces. Aaron Glenn drafted the guys who's going to fit that secondary, tough, physical man-to-man cover corners who can hit you in the mouth. So love what the Lions did.
Yeah, I did as well. They That was one of the biggest problems in the playoffs. Mike Evans torched them. Puka torched them. So bringing in the secondary help, it was very important, especially with the division now with JJ coming in, Caleb, Ro Madunze, Jordan Love, those guys. The division is gonna be an offensive decision. So So you got to beef the defense up. That was important. And I like how they jumped in front of Green Bay and made that pick as well. I think that was smart too.
So what I was going to say is, Adrian brought up a good point. You have Carlton Davis, and then you have Terrion Arnold's obviously going to be your other cornerback. He might even be your cornerback 1, and Davis might be 2. It just depends on how it plays out. Obviously, Davis is veteran. But Amik Roberts, I mean, people don't realize he was actually a pretty solid corner for the Raiders. He's just a little undersized, as it might be his only problem. But if you play him a nickel or a slot corner, he can definitely – line up against those guys that are a little bit smaller. He's very physical. I think his thing is he brought in the depth and brought in Rakestraw, who can either cycle out if a guy's tired, knock on wood. Davis, he's had some injury histories, but hopefully, Rakestraw, if that does happen, he can plug and play. But the thing that I'm very happy about now is, one, they lost Gardner Johnson, who was injured most of the season, so you didn't see what was going on with him. But you have Brian Branch who can move back to his natural position at safety now if you have a Meek or Rakestraw up in the nickel. But Branch can move back to safety, and you have Melifonwu, Kirby Joseph, Branch. You can plug and play for different types where they play better. I think the secondary is going to be night and day to what it was last year. You got rid of that bum Cam Sutton who couldn't cover anything with a blanket. Like, I'm happy about it. I'm super pumped about those picks. Like Adrian said, the two in the middle, the fourth rounders, kind of threw me for a loop. The guy that I wanted, I brought it up to you guys with Marshawn Nealand. He got drafted before Rakestraw, so unfortunately they weren't able to get him. Another guy I liked was Austin Booker out of Kentucky, Kansas. He was out of Kansas, but he got drafted by the Bears in the 4th or 5th round, which I would have taken him with either the Manu pick or the Vaki pick, but they saw something else. They must like to roll with Davenport, roll with James Houston. They might be happy with that. So those two I'm a little concerned about. I love the Mekhi Wingo pick, and I actually love the Christian Mahogany pick. I know Adrian was a little bit uncertain about it, but when he played at that one bowl, whatever it is, not the Senior Bowl, but the Shrine Bowl that they have, he was rated the best interior offensive lineman coming into it, and then a few other guys jumped in, but he was ranked pretty high up there, top 5 interior defensive or offensive lineman. If he can learn behind guys like Zeitler or Glasnow, and he can probably do something pretty scary. I think he's going to be already better than Sorsdahl is, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. Well said. All right, let's see more feedback here. Bashir says, I love the draft. Was a little concerned about the Manu pick. Thought we should have at least took one receiver.
Yeah, that too. I agree with that.
Yeah, I think we should have took a receiver. Excuse me, especially with what's his name leaving?
Reynolds.
Reynolds leaving. I think they're just pretty much.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think they're expecting a bigger role from Donovan Peoples-Jones, and maybe that guy they took out of North Carolina last year. I can't think of his name.
Green.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and J-Mo obviously is there, but he's not your big guy. A guy that I would like to see them take really quickly before you get to that comment is who dropped super far and ended up going to a team that his perfect fit because he played with him in college. But Troy Franklin Jr. went to Denver to play with Bo Nix again. That dude, he was graded like a 2nd round pick. And he fell to the 5th. I would have traded either up for him, or I personally would have used the Vaki pick on him. I don't know what they're trying to do with this Vaki kid, but they see something in him that we don't see.
Development.
Yeah. The Manu pick, I'm actually fine with. Like, I'm okay with it because he has like this upside that they keep talking about, and you don't need him automatically. Like, yeah, he's a freak athlete. Like, sure, Brad's allowed to do that. He's done everything in these past drafts where he's allowed to do something like that. The Vaki pick is the only one I don't like. I would have taken Troy Franklin or Brendan Rice. I've talked to you guys about that before, too. I don't know if I would have drafted him in the 4th round considering he fell so far, but I definitely would have taken a bigger body wide receiver.
Yeah, I would have took Franklin for sure.
Yeah. He was in the 5th, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't think he was going to fall that far, but he went to a good situation, though, in Denver, going team back up with Nick. So, all right, last one here. It said, yes, the Lions picked nicely in this past draft and should have picked a receiver too.
Yeah. It's all good though. I mean, we can't get it all in one foul swoop. They picked one weakness that Lions fans complained about, and that was the secondary, and they attacked it. So, there's gonna be somebody who gets cut, some guy who's in the free agent the Lions signed to maybe a 1-year, 2-year deal. So there's still time before training camp.
And I think a lot of people just forget to look at teams like Kansas City, Patriots have passed, San Francisco. Like, they don't really have a 3rd wide receiver on their team. They use their tight ends, and you have Sam Laporta, who is a phenomenal rookie tight end. He's only going to get better. So, did you really need to address the wide receiver position? I think this is my mind thinking what they thought about it. We have Laporta. J-Mo really showed out in that NFC Championship game. Amon-Ra is Amon-Ra. Like, Donovan Peoples-Jones is a big-bodied guy. He can potentially be that receiver that you need. So I think they were really just looking for a 4th option at this point. They're not really looking for a 3rd option because that 3rd option is Laporta. And you have Gibbs, too, who receives the ball out of the backfield. So I just don't think it was a serious worry for them.
Agreed. So Reid, they re-signed Penei Sewell. Amon-Ra got his money. Do you think Goff gets his deal done before the season starts?
Yeah, I heard Brad Holmes on the ticket today saying that there's still some back and forth. There's not a timetable for it. Obviously, these things don't happen overnight. I think they're at a little bit of a crossroads in the sense of I do think Jared Goff is actually going to be asking for more money than what we as Lions fans anticipate. I think he's asking for that 50 to 52 mil a year. I'd be fine with 50. If you go anything over 50, I'm going to kind of look at you sideways. But I mean, I'm going to have to listen to what Brad Holmes says. I mean, Goff plays well, but the thing about it is you have to toe a fine line between a mobile quarterback and a pocket passing quarterback, and he's just not mobile at all. So this O-line, God forbid, doesn't stay healthy, and he receives a little bit of pressure. That is going to be a real chink in the armor for the Lions for sure. So I wouldn't pay him over 50, and even 50, I'd be a little hesitant. I'd love to give him at 47, 48, but we'll see. I think they're just at a crossroads, and Goff is just trying to get his money, which every quarterback does. You're allowed to do that. That's like it's a business, man. Like you take your money, but as a fan, like I'd like to see him kind of pull a Tom Brady and be like, hey, use this money elsewhere and let me win it. Let my legacy solidify itself for the first time ever winning a Super Bowl in Detroit. Like, let me be the guy. But he can maybe he does it at $50 million a year. I don't know.
Yeah, I love it. Getting two of your guys signed, Amon-Ra St. Brown, he got 77 guaranteed. But look what happened the day of the draft. AJ Brown signs, and now he becomes the highest paid receiver. So hey, get these guys done as fast as possible. And then he signs Sewell, I believe. He's going to move over to left tackle once Decker leaves or retires or whatever he decides to do. He's the best lead tackle in the NFL right now, behind maybe Trent Williams. I know he's getting up in age, but
Lane Johnson.
That said, yeah, I wish they would have got Goff done last year, man. Would have got him under contract last year. You could have definitely got him for that 40. You probably could have got him for what Daniel Jones got, somewhere in there. But if they sides can't come to a 5-year deal, try to maybe get a 2-3 year done and give him 150 guaranteed, and let's call it a day. It's a win-win for both sides. A short-term deal. Goff still gets his money. Another thing is security, but that's still decent. That's how long he's going to be here. And I don't know why these Detroit Lions fans are clamoring for Hendon Hooker, man. Just relax and be thankful for what you got right now. Find a way to get it done and just try to go compete for a Super Bowl, man.
Go look at that comment after what Adrian just said. Go look at that comment. Let's put up there. Here we go, David.
let Goff leave after his contract is up and hand Hendon Hooker the keys.
So I'll answer this one. I'll let Adrian do because he's clearly not a Hendon Hooker guy, and I'm not in love with Hendon Hooker, but I liked what I saw in college. I don't know if you can let Goff leave after this year. You have to see what Hendon Hooker is even going to do. He's never played an NFL snap. He sat out a whole year. He sat behind Jared Goff. He's old as hell and considered compared to like normal quarterbacks that sit like a Jordan Love. He's older than Jordan Love, and he got drafted 2 or 3 years after Jordan Love. So like that's crazy. Jordan Love's 25, Hendon Hooker's 26. He'll be 27, I think, like midway through the season, I want to say. So he's a guy that you can't really wait for. I mean, he's 3 years younger than Jared, 2.5 years younger than Jared Goff. Like, I don't know. I'd rather take my chances. I would have rather taken my chances on a Joe Milton or a Jordan Travis this draft and use the 7th on one of those guys. Listen, project guys at that point, but they're young, Raj. They're young. That's all I'm saying. I know they're not great.
Yeah, no, I like Travis. I'm just talking about Joe Milton. I'm not a Joe Milton fan at all.
Yeah, but he has all the athletic upside, and you let him sit. It's fine. Everybody wasn't high on Jordan Love either, or some of these guys that sit. I get it. I understand it. I do get it. But I'm just saying, I would like these guys as their age better than what I would like with Hooker, because Hooker is, again, he's 26 years old. There's quarterbacks that are playing right now that are 26 years old. There's quarterbacks that are younger. There's Justin Fields. There's all those guys that are younger. He might be the same age as Josh Allen or close to it. Like, it's crazy to think. But, yeah, I wouldn't hand the keys over to Hendon Hooker unless you see him, unless Goff gets hurt, God forbid Goff gets hurt week 3 and Hendon Hooker leads you to the playoffs and maybe wins 2 playoff games, or a playoff game, then maybe you could do it. But I still am, and it's up in the air, man. He's old. He's old for a quarterback.
I want to see how he looks in his training camp and his preseason now that he's healthy. It's going to be interesting to see him play. It would have been nice to see him play at the end of last season, but
what's crazy to me is Jordan Travis' leg got snapped in half. He lost his leg on a play, and he's already back throwing the ball, I think, sooner than Hendon Hooker is. Like, Hendon Hooker's barely throwing the ball, like, at the end of last season. Jordan Travis was just throwing it, like, 3 months ago. It's crazy. Like, I don't know what the extent of his injury was, but I don't know. It's crazy. But anyway, I'll let Adrian talk on the comment.
Yeah. Jordan Travis is in he's in a good situation. With Jets sitting behind Tyrod Taylor, Aaron Rodgers obviously not got to play this year. Honestly, I think if Jordan Travis wouldn't have got hurt and Florida State would have got to the playoffs, I think he would have went in the first round this year because this was a very quarterback needy draft this year. So especially with Penix going at 8.
If Bo Nix and Penix and JJ all went in the first round, I would assume Jordan Travis would have gone in the first round.
Yeah, I think he would have for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with you. Just don't take golf for granted, figure it out, and then you can go from there. But I think it has to get done before the season.
Okay, let's get some of these feedback. Ax says, NFL football is hard to predict. I look forward to seeing these new guys take the field. BBL Drizzy.
BBL Drizzy. Before we get to the next comment, I will say, Adrian is as a guy who had to watch Kenny Pickett play all last season. I wouldn't be so quick to get rid of Jared Goff. He was a top 10 quarterback last season. There's teams out here that don't have quarterbacks. So just remember what you have. I've said it before in pods. Just remember what you have. He could be gone in the blink of an eye at another team watching them win, and then you're going to have to watch a whole other Stafford thing happen where he's winning Super Bowls and he wasn't here. Granted, whether that happened, I don't know. I'm just saying. Be happy with what you have.
For sure. Ish in the building says, Hendon Hooker was drafted to be the backup, not the franchise-saving starter. Okay.
Ish.
Good point.
I
agree with Ish.
Ax says Hooker definitely won't do better than Jared Goff. I think
the only thing people are looking forward to it with Hendon Hooker is what I mentioned earlier, is that how there's mobility that you want in your quarterback, and he offers more mobility than Jared Goff. Granted, he might be running out half a leg, but we've seen Jared Goff run. I mean, everybody's seen it. Like, we know. Yeah, Rattler.
Rattler went to the Saints, right?
Yeah, I don't love him, but I would have taken Rattler over Hooker at this point. I mean, Rattler's 22 or 23. Again, it's all about age. These guys sitting, it's all about age. You want a young guy to sit behind and learn for his first 3 years of his contract if you can. Like Jordan Love was this perfect situation. I hate that he's on the Packers.
All right, last one here. DC says Cavs up 102-85, 8 minutes left in the fourth. NBA update.
I saw a clip earlier on social media, and it says it happens every year to the Celtics, and it was like 5 slides of just Celtics games and game. What is this, 3 or whatever it is? It's just game 2. Yeah, it's just them.
They lay an egg.
Yeah, they lay an egg, just crumbling. That's hilarious.
Yeah, DC. Me and DC talked on the phone earlier. I literally said, Boston's on upset alert tonight. They're gonna lose. They're like a 14-point favorite. Everybody's gonna put Boston on the parlays, and it's gonna jam everybody's parlays up. Sure enough, look what happened. DC, I literally told you this earlier when we talked. Crazy. All right, last one here. Ax says the key to the line's success is Campbell not making dumb calls.
You want me to take this one really quickly? Because I've spoken to many people about this one.
Go ahead. You go ahead, Reid.
Everybody talks about Dan Campbell's dumb calls, and you want to talk about the NFC Championship game where he may not have kicked a field goal. He went for it, and Josh Reynolds dropped 2 passes. That's what happens. You got on this ship for Dan Campbell because he does these types of things. This is the type of coach that he is. So if you're a Lions fan and you like all the winning that Dan Campbell does, get on, strap in, ride the roller coaster ride, because he's not going to stop doing it. It's the type of coach that Dan Campbell is. He just did the first thing that any coach has done in a very long time for this franchise. So he doesn't make, does he maybe make like he should have done a field goal or something here or there? Yes. But Dan Campbell is the type of coach where he just puts all his chips on the table, goes all in, and asks for blackjack. Like, that's the type of guy that he is. He like, take him as he is. You have to accept him as he is. He's the uncle with the big chew in the backyard telling you to swing the bat right. Like, that's the type of guy that Dan Campbell is. So don't say it's if he makes dumb calls, because that's how he plays football. That's how he coaches football.
Okay. Yeah,
Agreed.
that NFC Championship game was a big learning curve for him and his whole staff. So we'll see.
And
if they
I don't even think it was. I don't even think it was
season.
majority his fault. You got to look at plays back, look at the game back. Vildor not knocking that ball down, trying to intercept it, it bounces off his face mask. Like, you can't call for that. That's not his fault. Jahmyr Gibbs and Jared Goff fumbling a snap, like for rookie jitters or whatever it may be, that doesn't happen all the time. That's not his fault for doing that. Him calling it on third down and maybe not kicking a field goal, sure, I guess you could say that. But Josh Reynolds had 2 balls he could catch right in his hands, and he dropped both of them. So I'm not going to put it all on Dan Campbell. If he would have made them, he would have been praised as being one of the best coaches for making those risky moves. It's just the sword that you play by. There's 2 sides of the sword. One is good, one is bad. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to fault him for doing some of those things and fault him for mistakes that happened on the field.
I could second that more. All I can say about Dan Campbell is he's over the years he's proven himself. He's gotten better as the years going on. The more coaching he's shown you he's started to make better decisions and make the right calls. No, he's not going to be perfect, but this is like Reid said, this is what Lions fans love him for because he takes chances. Are they all going to work out? No. But could he make better decisions at times? Yes. But we love him for it. Some of the risk taking, it got the Lions to where they were at last year, and you gotta live with the results sometimes. So it just is what it is.
Absolutely.
To this last comment here, Axe says, I'm San Fran all day, so I greatly appreciate Campbell and the Lions handing us the game, Reid.
Very funny. How did that Super Bowl play out for you guys, though?
Ooh.
Another year, always the bridesmaid, never the bride, huh?
Glad my team is in the AFC, baby. That's all I can say right now.
So, Adrian, I was coming right at you next. So, the Steelers had 7 picks in the draft, 4 offense, 3 defense. We see they got Roman Wilson, receiver from Michigan. So, what did you think? What did you think of their draft? And can the Steelers realistically win the AFC North?
A+ draft from the Steelers in this draft. Did a phenomenal job. They have rebuilt this offensive line. We've been struggling since Pouncey left, Villanueva left, Castro left. It's been bad. We drafted Kevin Dotson, not good. Chooks, not good. Kendrick Green, not good. Finally drafted Broderick last year. To move him over to left, get rid of Dan Moore and leave him on the bench, please. I love the pick with Troy Wanga. He was a Steelers fan growing up. I'm going to move him probably to right tackle. Have the inside good. We got a center, baby, at 51. The center I wanted, didn't have to reach. Mason Cole was awful last year, couldn't hike the ball. The third pick with that receiver, we go and get my boy Roman Wilson off the defending national champions, baby. Like what they did at the 4th round pick with Peyton Wilson, the talented linebacker out of NC State. I know he's had some injury history, but if he can stay somewhat healthy, we have transformed our linebacker core with the addition of Patrick Queen as well, and then getting Landon Roberts back. If he can play at the level that he played last season, will be a plus for this unit. I really wish they would have found a way to get a corner to pair with JPJ, but they got Dante Jackson. We'll see what happens. We know we got Ryan Watson in 6th round corner, but they're talking about maybe he's going to play safety. Like we added another guard from South Dakota State. We're trying to get nasty in the trenches, man, and run the football. So do I think they have a shot to win the AFC North. I think it's a realistically. Russell Wilson can play really good football, even if he doesn't work on Justin Fields play well. I'm just super optimistic. Will they win it? I'm not sure yet, but do they have a chance to win it? Yes, I believe this is the best division in football, with the NFC North being second. So this division is going to be tough, man. Can we get some better play from Deshaun Watson? We know the Ravens will be the Ravens. So in the Cleveland's going to be. Cincinnati's going to be back next season with Joe Burrow. And he'll be healthy. The receivers will be good as too. So we'll see what happens, man. But I'm optimistic.
Yeah, I thought they killed that draft. Honestly, they did kind of what the Lions do. Where the Steelers are obviously a better organization than the Lions are, but history-wise. But addressing that offensive line, obviously, it didn't look great last season. Granted, you had a potato thrown in the backfield, but that's no fault. That's no fault of Adrian's. But yeah, you have Russell Wilson who's hoping to revitalize his career. Justin Fields hoping to revitalize his career. Who I think actually he's probably the best situation that he could be in. They didn't pick up his 5th-year option, but I think they're honestly going to try and bring him back and just bring him back on a discounted deal because they know that he's going to be discounted. You don't have to give him the 25 mil or whatever it was. So I do think Justin Fields is going to be back for the Steelers. But yeah, build up that offensive line. As we all know, when you have a good offensive line, your game's going to look good. You have Najee, who's ran for 1,000 yards ever since he's been in the NFL. I'm not a huge fan of his, but he runs for 1,000 yards, and you build up that offensive line even better. He could run for more. Who knows? Jalen Warren's a great talent. I know you lost Deontay Johnson, but you still have George Pickens, who hopefully will get the ball a little bit more because Russ and Fields are there. Roman Wilson, who has obviously killed it in the Senior Bowl, huge for the Wolverines all season. They might be a team that Freiermuth, I mean, if he stays healthy, he's a solid tight end, but they might be a team that could use an actual wide receiver 3 because, I mean, who else is there, Adrian? I don't know who their third would be.
We signed Cordero Patterson. We signed Quez Watkins. We signed Van Jefferson. We just signed Scotty Miller yesterday, former Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
So a lot of nobodies.
pretty much to add some depth.
I get it.
I will give them to transform the room, but it just goes to show you that they have this much faith in George Pickens and his ability to become an elite receiver in the NFL. And I think Roman Wilson will be perfect as the number 2 because he can play the slot and he can play outside. He's physical. He knows how to block. So I think it fits what the Steelers like to do. So I don't question him when it comes to drafting and developing wide receivers. So I have to have a big year from Pat Freiermuth. It's a must. And Darnell Washington, I think, is going to be even better in his second NFL season with a competent guy throwing him the football. And Arthur Smith, one thing he's going to do is be able to run the football. Look what he did with Atlanta last year, and he had Desmond Ridder throwing the football. So that tells you everything you need to know.
And Derrick Henry the year before he was a head coach, but that's also Derrick Henry. But the last thing I will say, Washington, I don't know if he'll surpass Freiermuth on catches necessarily or targets. Yeah, he's more of a blocking guy, but that's also huge. He's basically another offensive lineman. I mean, he's a big tight end. He's like 6'8", 260 or something like that. Like, he's huge. So yeah, I mean, the Steelers, they have a chance. Honestly, for the Steelers, it all depends on how good are the Bengals with Joe Burrow coming back. The Ravens are the Ravens. Is Deshaun Watson going to take a leap that he's supposed to take since he was out of football for so long? And will Wilson or Fields, whoever takes over, will they be able to be a competent quarterback in behind center for them? So, I mean, that division is – everybody always says AFC West is tough. The NFC West is tough. Like, they always say it, but everybody always forgets that AFC North just always puts every single team in the damn playoffs, like every year. So I think that's one of the hardest divisions in football, if not the hardest division in football, because every single one of those teams are good. Like you just put every one of those up on paper. NFC North's gotten this way, but yeah, you put that AFC North team up against any other division, they're probably one of the best.
I will say real quick before we get out of here, I do believe the Steelers can be contenders this year, but I believe realistically they need one more off season. Next season, I believe they can put themselves back into the Super Bowl window. I think we're at least another season away from being able to do that because his offensive line has to gel and come together. But overall, I love what our new GM Omar Khan has done since Kevin Colbert's retired. A lot more aggressive, a lot more willing to take chances because they've been this old willy-nilly franchise who doesn't want to take chances, who just lets things come to them. No, you have to get with the times and be aggressive and make decisions, make roster moves, and keep up with the modern day NFL. And that's what they've been doing, I think, since Ben retired. That's what messed them up, trying to play behind from the 8 ball and not catching up. And they're finally now starting to do that after the last 5-6 years. So it's kind of refreshing and it kind of feels good.
Okay, DC got a question for you guys. He says, who's a better receiver, Ocho Cinco or Antonio Brown?
AB.
Oh, Antonio Brown.
Obviously, Adrian's going to see AB. He's a Steelers fan. But as an unbiased fan for the Bengals and Steelers, I would say AB. You look at people's lists. Some people put AB in the top 5 receivers of all time, which I think is a little crazy. But AB for sure.
Yeah, I'm going with AB as well. He shot himself in the foot. He could have played another 3 years easily.
That Bucks, or actually the Raiders era really sunk him.
Yeah, he could have really put up.
Yeah, never the same. Once he got hit, once he got smoked in the playoff game,
Montez Burfict.
Yeah, he's never.
And they got revenge.
Yeah, actually, he thinks it's a tie.
I mean, Ocho is great. Don't get me wrong. I think Ocho was a very good wide receiver. He was like the first of a kind that's like the how the wide receivers are now. Like if there was no Ocho Cinco, there would be no Antonio Brown. There would be no Justin Jefferson type. There would be no like he was very like boisterous as a wide receiver. So I don't think there would be any more. I mean, I guess T.O. kind of was like that before Ocho Cinco, but I definitely think Ocho Cinco took it to a new level to like kind of usher in almost a diva wide receiver, even though Ocho I don't think was too much of a diva.
Reid, who would you rather have at quarterback, Daniel Jones or Kenny Pickett?
I'd probably say Daniel Jones because he at least offers you a little bit of rushing ability, even if he does trip on his own shoelaces. But I'd still take Daniel Jones probably. Listen, okay, Daniel Jones does kind of stink, but to his effect, like they haven't had very good wide receivers, dude. You got to remember that. Like they haven't had anybody.
He won a playoff game.
He did win a playoff game. They also had the ghost of Kenny Galladay on the outside with what Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard. And I can't even think of anybody else. But yeah, I would definitely have Daniel Jones. Kenny Pickett had wide receiver.
You don't gotta ask me twice. You already know. I'm glad I'll never have to see Kenny Pickett ever again in my life.
Kenny.
For sure. So Adrian, some more came out on the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight. So it is going to be a sanctioned boxing match. You got 8 rounds at 2 minutes. They're going to be using 14-ounce gloves instead of the regular 10-ounce gloves. So Adrian, how you see this fight going now? And if Tyson loses this fight, the loss goes on his record. Do you think this will affect his legacy?
No, he's what 50,
60 years
57 years old. No, I think this is. I'm gonna say it's a publicity stunt, man. It's to just make a lot of money, which everybody's gonna watch it. I know it's gonna be on Netflix, but I think Mike Tyson should win. But if he does, I won't be surprised. He's 30 years older than Jake Paul, so I'm not gonna look at Mike Tyson differently. I'm giving credit just for even taking this fight and the shape that he's in. It's incredible. Me personally, Jake Paul is just annoyance for me, but he does a good job of selling fights and making money. But I'd like to see him get knocked out. So.
Yeah, I'll just add, I hope Jake Paul gets knocked out. You guys know I'm not like a huge boxing guy. Although I did watch that Canelo fight a few weekends or last weekend or whatever it was, which I enjoyed. But yeah, I just hope Jake Paul gets his head knocked off because I can't stand him as a human being.
Yeah, I think this definitely leans towards Tyson. Only 2-minute rounds, 8 rounds. This fight was going 12 rounds. I'd probably run with Jake Paul, but that is only 2-minute rounds, 8 rounds. I like Tyson. I like Tyson in this one for sure.
Jake's going to be doing a lot of dancing, I think. It's going to look like Dancing with Stars for Jake, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Also in the boxing world this Sunday, you got Lomachenko and Kambosos fighting in Australia. So that should be a good fight this Sunday as well. All right, so I want to close it out with the Tigers, Reid. Where you at with the Tigers right now? They're 4th in the division, 5 games out of first. What do the Tigers need to do to get back at the top of the division?
Hit a baseball every once in a while. Nobody seems to. I mean, they have what they want. They scored 11 runs 2 games ago or whatever it was. They were up 4-2, going all the way to the 9th inning, and then they ended up allowing 3 more runs. So, I mean, your pitching can only take you so far. I mean, they are arguably top 3, technically number 1 in all facets of pitching in the MLB, and I think it's just crazy that they can't get anything going with their bats. I mean, your lineup's been changed so many times. Torkelson's been moved. Baez is never going to get sent down. Parker Meadows finally got sent down. Torkelson, unfortunately, I mean, he's a first overall pick. I mean, you want to talk about trading for pieces, which you might not even be able to trade him for pieces anymore, but everyone was talking about Cade. Torkelson was a first overall pick, and he has done way less than what his Cade has done for his team. So he hasn't hit a home run this season. His WAR is top 10 worst in MLB out of 900 players. I think he's like 10th from the bottom. He has a negative 0.5 WAR. Like, it's just bad all around. Green was hot for a minute. Now he can't hit. Now he can swing and hit the broadside of a barn. So it's like, I don't know. Your bats can't hit anything. Your pitching has to save you. And then when it comes to your pitching, you make a dumb error. Your infield can't make any plays. Like, I don't know. You have to figure out somehow to give these kids confidence back. I think a lot of them are missing out on confidence. Maybe you can fourth down and bring someone else up for first base, or bring Jung up if you drafted him for a bat.
He's not going anywhere. Malloy's like sitting around down in the minors. So at this point, I'd bring up Max Clark. I mean, you drafted him last year. He's 19 years old. Put him in the lineup. He can't do much worse than half these guys in his roster. So, yeah, I don't know. Pitching looks great. Skubal is a Cy Young candidate. Mize looks good after not pitching for 750 days. Like, that's all I really got to say. But just you talked about it, dude. The bats are so bad. You need no offense, you're not going to win games. You can't win in baseball scoring 2 runs, no matter how good your pitcher is.
I'll just agree with Reid. We talked about this yesterday in the group chat. It just can't hit. Whether it's Ibanez, Parker, Torkelson, whoever it may be, the bats aren't there. We've known that it's not there. Illich doesn't want to spin on offense. As we know, the Tigers have always been great at pitching. Pretty much in our lifetime, developed great pitchers in the farm system. When it comes to positional players, it's fish in a barrel. Like, they just don't know what they're doing. So until they spend the money, because they can't identify prospects when it comes to positional players, it just is what it is. How they're going to win 80-plus games, I don't see it. You're wasting this pitching staff who's pitching at the 90 to 95 win, but the offense isn't giving you nothing. It's just a waste of time. And then what's going to happen this season when some of these pitchers start getting injured with little minor tweaks and strains, whatever the case may be. Not saying I wish anybody to get injured, but it's inevitable. So you're just putting too much pressure, and it's not looking good right now. I don't even care if they have a winning record. That means nothing right now, as it's only May 9th, guys, at 9:30 p.m. and they have a day off. But it's boring, man. And then we got the issue with Bally now, and people can't even watch the games now. So there's gonna be less people watching the games right now, especially because the offense is gonna put you to sleep every night.
One thing I will say, and Raj, and you can talk about it, but the thing that sucks with their farm system too is, they're ranked like 5th, 6th in MLB for farm system, but all their farm system is pitching, second base, third base, or center field, and they don't have anywhere else like covered. Like, you need a catcher. You don't have any catcher that can swing a bat. Like, I mean, Rogers is good defensively, I said before, but he can't swing a bat. Your shortstop is hindered because you have Javi Baez locked up on the books. Like, there is just you just brought Colt Keith in, who's supposed to be a third baseman. You play him at second. You can't bring up Jace Jung because he's a second baseman. Like, you have so many players locked up in the minors who potentially could help you because you have all these dumb pieces put in place in your infield now. So it's just, their farm system's great, but you just can't bring anybody up. It's like having a Ferrari in the garage and never driving it. Corvette will say, not Ferrari.
Yeah, or even see what's out there on some trade. Get rid of some of these guys.
Send some of the prospects,
Yeah, some of the prospects, even some of the guys on the roster. Alex Lang, he doesn't seem like he's a closer anymore. It seems like they're giving that to Foley now. So maybe a guy like Alex Lang, get him out of here. Or, some of the prospects. So that's what I would do. So, they started 3-game homestand tomorrow against Houston. Mize is going to be on the mound. And Verlander pitches this Sunday at Comerica as well. So
that'll be interesting.
Oh, real quick before we get out of here, it went final in Boston. Cleveland wins 118-94.
Bro, I literally called that earlier, man. That's crazy.
I hope you put some money on it, Raj.
I did. I'm gonna check my parlay when we get off the stream. I'm feeling good right now. Feeling good. All right, let me see a couple more. Some of the feedback before we get up out of here. DC says, "Who would win if they fought, Ryan Garcia or Earl Spence?"
I'll say this is not the boxing guy. If the whole thing about Ryan being true, where he was just putting on a show and he didn't actually like to come off like a psycho, I would take Ryan Garcia because he looked like he dismantled Haney. But I mean, I don't know what this whole PED thing was. Like, obviously, I'm not in the boxing scene, so I don't know. But the way that he looked, I would take Garcia. I was also never seen Spence fight, so I don't know.
Okay, who'd you like in that one, Adrian?
I would take Spence.
Okay, I think Spence fights at a little heavier weight than Garcia, doesn't he? Or they fight the same weight?
That's been the problem with Garcia too, though, that I've noticed is that he's been having to go down a lot with guys. I feel like if he had to go up a few pounds in a way to be a little easier, but with all these other guys, he's been having to go down like 10, 15 pounds, right?
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? I think they fight about the same weight because I think
it's I think he said 160 is what he wanted to fight at.
160.
Yeah, Ryan can get the one. Ryan's a bigger guy too, so
Yeah, I think he
was
said
fighting at
160
140.
because
Yeah.
he said contract sent 160 is what he said.
Because I think that Crawford and Spence fight was at 148, I believe, 147, 148, I believe.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah, last one here from Eck. He says to you, Reid, says, I'd like to encourage you to try, enjoy the sweet science of boxing. It's fascinating and addictive.
I mean, I've actually watched I watched the Garcia fight and I've watched the Canelo fight. So, I mean, I've been getting into it. I the thing with boxing for me is it gets a little stale at times, in my opinion. Like the Garcia Haney fight, there was a lot of I said to you guys, I liked the Canelo fight because there wasn't as much grappling, or as much hugging. Obviously, I say grappling as a UFC fan, but like there wasn't as much stoppage of the fight. Like the Haney Garcia fight, there was a lot of stoppage for the grabbing and all that. Like I get it in boxing, you get tired, you fight so long, but the Canelo fight I thought was way better. It was much more entertaining. There wasn't as much stoppage, so I did like it. I think boxing is kind of having a small resurgent with the guys that they have in there. I just think the problem is that it's been such a less than stellar product for so long that it's hard for people to get into, in my opinion. The corruption doesn't help. And yeah, it's just the judging is not always great. Like the judging for the Garcia Haney fight, I thought was outrageous.
Yeah, that's boxing. It's definitely a lot of corruptness in it for sure. I ain't gonna lie about that with a lot of these decisions and that, like the Tiafomo's last fight, a lot of these decisions be super crazy. That's why it's best to just really just go in there and just not knock the guy out. Honestly, that's pretty much your best bet. But I will say
this conversation with my friend Marcus multiple times. He's a huge boxing guy. All my other friends are huge UFC guys. Like we've had this conversation all the time. He always talks about how they get paid more than UFC fighters. Fine. UFC, it just has been a better product as of late.
I agree.
It's more exciting. The knockouts are better. Like guys rarely get knocked out in boxing, like unless you see good heavyweight matches. And the last heavyweight match I had to watch was Anthony Joshua and Francis Ngannou, and I got really disappointed because I love Ngannou. I used to love Joshua, and then he kind of fell off after the Ruiz fight for me.
Yeah, one thing I love about the UFC, all the guys fight each other. Boxing seems like the guys duck each other a lot.
Yeah, they want to fight each other in the UFC. And my guy Alex Poatan Pereira is taking over, and he might go fight John Jones and be 3-time champion. I don't know.
We'll see. Maybe fight Stipe. He wants to fight Stipe again, but we'll see.
Yeah. So Reid, if you can check out that Kambosos and Lomachenko fight this Sunday, that should be a good one, right?
I'll probably turn it on if I'm got nothing else to do, to be honest.
For sure. All right. Well, yeah, there it is. Good show. Anything else you guys want to add before we get up out of here?
One thing before we go, since I'm a huge WNBA fan, now that Caitlin Clark's in the league, they did win. Indiana Fever did beat Atlanta tonight. She had 12 points, 6 assists, 8 rebounds. She shot 2 for 9 though from 3, so that's not great. But they still won.
Is that regular season or preseason?
It's all preseason because I know that someone was trolling.
Starts Tuesday, I believe.
Someone was trolling Tarasi and what is Sue Bird, who were together because Angel Reese got drafted to Chicago and some girl got drafted to it was another team, but they blew each team out like 100 points to like 56, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's going to be Awakening, huh?" And I was like, I don't know how preseason works in WNBA, but I don't know if they're like playing their starters in any of the games. So, also last thing too, I'm trying to watch this Colorado game, and it hasn't started on whatever when it said it's supposed to be at 9:10 and it's 9:37. But shout out to my nephew and my sister watching the podcast tonight too.
Shout out.
Appreciate you guys for tuning in. And yeah, Reid, you're gonna have to go out to Indiana and check out one of those Fever games.
Drive there, it's not that bad. 4-hour drive or 5-hour drive, something like that.
Yeah, not bad at all.
I might have to pay more for that ticket than a Pistons ticket, to be honest with you.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Absolutely. All right. Well, yeah, good show, fellas, and make sure everybody watch it. Make sure you guys like the video for me. Subscribe to the channel, and yeah, sports update. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
See you Tuesday, boys.
Peace.
Yes, sir.